with the women, we see a faith that stands back, that does not engage. But with Joseph, we see a profound picture of engagement and commitment. So with this Markan sandwich, this Markan ham bun, we are challenged. Are we like the women in the story? Do we sit back and watch Jesus? Or are we like Joseph? Do we boldly step forward and take Christ as our own, as our Savior and Lord? Do we sit back? It's that theme of comfort or commitment. Do we sit back comfortably, watching? Or do we step forward in commitment, saying, this is my Lord. This is my resurrected Lord and Savior. So let's first look at the women. Now, as we step into this, a couple things that are important to note is that, especially in our current cultural context, Mark is not saying anything about gender by showing that the women are displaying maybe a lack of faith and Joseph is showing a bold sense of faith. If you were here last week, you would have seen the reverse. Last week we saw this other Markan sandwich where you saw men who wanted to kill Jesus, who saw him as a means to their own end, and what was beautiful in the middle was this woman who saw Jesus as the end, as all things, as her Lord and Savior. So don't think that this has anything to do with gender. And another aspect too that's really important to note in regards to the women in this story, especially when it comes to resurrection and when it comes to Easter, is this gives incredible testimony to the truth of the resurrection. Back in Jesus' time, the testimony of a woman was not valid in court. So if somebody was trying to come up and make up a story about Jesus' resurrection, you know what they're not going to do? They're not going to have women as the first people at the tomb. They're not going to have women as the first people to talk about the resurrection, to be witnesses to it. This only gives further testimony. This is how it happened, folks. This is the reality. This is not made up. This is deep, beautiful gospel truth. But now we have to ask, okay, so what is Mark challenging us? How is he challenging us when we look at the women? And to do that, we've got to look at a few verses. So if you look at verse 40 from chapter 15 and 47, and then verse 4 from 16, we read, some women were watching, notice that italicized word, from a distance. And then 47, Mary Magdalene and Mary, the mother